love that song. Ronnie Spector singing one of mine, Setting the Woods on Fire. We are The Right Balance, and we welcome back to our program a gentleman I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I think he really represents a true Republican movement. He's not a country club Republican at all, and the folks up in Michigan should be very, very proud of Congressman Thad McCotter. Thad, welcome back to the show, sir.
Oh, thanks for having me, Greg.
I want to ask you something very, very seriously, and I'm not being unctuous here. I am dealing with you straight. I think you'd make a great vice president.
That's more obsequious than unctuous.
Well, okay, whatever. I think you'd make a great vice president. Would you ever consider it?
I don't know. I mean, nobody's asking. Again, that's always the question.
Okay.
I'm just kind of sitting here doing my job, and as you know, we've hit a new record in Congress.
Yeah,
Under
good or bad.
leadership, we've hit a 9% approval rating from the American public, and even better. The Democrats have now convinced 3% of independents that we're doing a good job here.
Well,
I think that's within the margin of error. I mean, the Democrats have done nothing this session to help the American people. They've tried to stop us from helping the American people, and I think the American people figured it out. Unfortunately, the bad news is a lot of people still think Republicans run the Congress.
You know, that's true. People think we're still in charge of the lodge. Congressman McCotter, I've got to ask you, you were on last week from India. You were in the Middle East very, very recently. And the primary reason I wanted you back so soon is as follows. What did you take from your trip? If you have sort of a one man's consensus opinion, if you will, what did you bring home in terms of observations?
Well, I think first and foremost is the United States has got to articulate a post-war for freedom vision. I think we have to start that by renaming the global war on terror, because what's happening in places like Pakistan is their average population that is beset by difficulties such as energy, rolling blackouts, food insecurity, a terrible economy, is they view their armies being used as proxy armies to benefit the interests of the United States rather than benefit the interests of themselves and the United States in the process. We've got to start bringing it down to the local level, a message that you are fighting primarily for your own liberty when you take on extremists, when you take on the enemies of not only the United States, but your own freedom in your own nation. This is something that I think is hard for Americans to understand because of what happened to us on September 11th when we lost 3,000 of our fellow citizens. But for people in Pakistan, I suppose akin to what happened in Spain, a lot of these populations view this as America's problem, and why are we being dragged into it? That's not the case, as you and I and so many others know here in the United States. But to the people in Pakistan and many people in Afghanistan and many people throughout that region just have difficulty understanding that it is liberty of the human being that is at risk from Al-Qaeda. It is not just the liberty of America.
Do we need to do a better job as it relates to Iran, for example, of dealing with the groups around the world, you know, the Iranians who got out because they didn't feel like dying, to deal with the dissidents, so on and so forth? Don't you think we need to do a little bit of the Radio-Free Europe thing better?
Absolutely. The country that brought the world Mickey Mouse and blue jeans can certainly do a better job of putting forward a positive message in relation to dealing with these barbaric enemies of human freedom. Too often, Americans think that because we know something is happening that somehow the rest of the world does. I know we live in an age of global communications, but that doesn't mean what we're communicating resonates with other populations. If you think about it, the greatest message that Franklin Roosevelt had in World War II was he referred to that as a war for freedom. He talked about how it is for the advancement of human liberty after we get through this ordeal, which is why we are going to endure it and why we are going to prevail, and it will not just benefit the United States and Britain or Russia, it will benefit all of the world. The United States has to continue to stress that message and find ways to do it where we are not dictating to populations in terms of our message, but we are trying to find ways of common understanding to convey a message to them that they accept.
And to lead by example, too. I think to a great extent our media works against us far too often. They almost enjoy seeing bad news for America. As it relates to the grunts and as it relates to the generals and all points in between, what impressions did you get from your recent trip overseas?
Well, when I was in Afghanistan, one of the things, when you talk about the world being catch-22 sometimes, is we found out that foreign fighters are now being directed by Zawahiri and al-Qaeda not to go to Iraq, where they're getting their butts kicked, but to go into the federally administered tribal areas in Pakistan, cross the border, and attack American and NATO forces in Afghanistan. What you find when you go over and you see our troops and you see our generals is an affinity and a true affection for the people of Afghanistan, just like for the people of Iraq. The United States soldiers, our military personnel, are forces for moral good, not only in the defense of our liberty, but in the promotion of the liberty of others. And when you see the behavior of American soldiers, which is why when you talk about the media trying to focus on a potential exception to the rule to make it look as if it is a universal truth, we take great exception. The men and women of the United States Armed Forces, especially under the Petraeus counterinsurgency plan, are living amongst the population. They're making relationships. They're showing the Iraqi people what Americans are all about, that we are not just selfish, self-indulgent people bent upon our own pleasure, but we are true to our commitment as a beacon of liberty to help expand it to others. And this is what you get from American soldiers overseas, is the bond that they build with the people they are trying to help breathe free.
Well, Congressman Thad McCotter from the great state of Michigan, thank you so much for another visit to The Right Balance. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Greg. Always good to hear from you.
The same.
Keep it up.
Thank you very much. We are trying. We're in the fight, that's for sure. Trying to give you radio that doesn't aim low. We are The Right Balance. I'm serious. I'm serious.
I know.
Because everybody's trying to be a clone of you-know-who, or just a mouthpiece for a very specific point of view, left or right of center. We are The Right Balance. I am conservative. I do wear my heart and my brain on my sleeve. But I also try to remind people, you know something, folks? Sometimes you got to criticize the other guy. Sometimes you got to criticize your own, so on and so forth. In any event, folks, if you do like our show, please share it with a friend. If you don't like our show, keep it to yourself. That's it for this hour. But if you're lucky and you're patient, in about 6 minutes, there's more of this stuff.